At the graduate school, it's also important to be aware of who are the top leaders in your field. So I suggest that students look at who is doing publications in professional journals, who is listed in conference proceedings as presenting on areas that are of interest to you, and find out what institutions they're associated with. What's required is going to vary from school to school and program to program. It's important to read the guidelines carefully, to select the particular institutions you might want to apply to, and then see exactly what's offered by that institution. When a student is putting together their portfolio, they have to know to do it. Take the time. It takes time. It takes work. It's not difficult particularly. You just have to follow the guidelines. And really importantly, if there's any piece of it that you're not familiar with, you don't understand, don't guess. Ask questions. The people at the schools are there to answer your questions, so they'll be glad to tell you, explain deadlines, explain the pieces of the application. One of the problems I see with particularly international graduate students is they start stressing over one piece of the application or the other. Graduate programs can review everything holistically, so every piece that's submitted is going to be part of the decision. Certainly some pieces are going to be more important than others. If you're applying to a doctoral program, schools will be more interested in your prior academic experience, GRE scores, prior research experience. If you're applying to a business school, they want to look at that prior work experience that's relevant, GMAT scores. In all cases, universities are looking for how the student fits with their program. They're not trying to make the process difficult. They're just trying to confirm that whoever they admit is prepared and will be successful in the program. The statement of purpose is always a good spot. Every school will have specific guidelines for how long the statement of purpose should be, what they're looking for. Sometimes it will be an essay, sometimes it will be simply asking about your background and what you want to do with your life. If you research the program carefully, you understand the focus of the program and who they're looking for. And if you use the statement of purpose to highlight those characteristics that are part of your background and who you are, that make you feel you're a good match for the program, that's a good idea. So while I think students have to follow the guidelines, and if they ask for 1,000 words, don't send them a 50-page treatise, you do have to use the statement of purpose as a way to sort of explain what's unique about you, how you fit in the program, but what might make you a little special and make you stand out from the crowd.
Certainly, to be more competitive, I think it's in the students' best interest to be sure that they are portraying themselves in every aspect, whether it be from a letter of recommendation and ensuring that the recommender is perhaps noting notable accomplishments or specific areas academically that they've succeeded well in, or published, or research that they have completed, would certainly stand out, as well as in a CV or resume. Also in the essay, incorporating those things into an essay is very crucial. I think when committees look for potential graduate assistants, whether for research or even teaching, they look for key items on what they've accomplished, and oftentimes some students fail to really portray all of those things that they do. But also from the academic side, of course, they want to ensure that the student is academically prepared in that specific field. Sometimes even the GRE scores come into play in terms of competitiveness for the research or for the assistantship dollars. So, and assistantships, the amounts and the types vary from one university to the next. Some of them offer full tuition waiver. Some it's a partial tuition for state institutions. We like for Old Dominion, for example, we offer a number of out-of-state tuition waivers, which is quite a significant difference in terms of tuition and costs. And then also, most of the assistantships also come with a minimum stipend of some sort. They usually range between $5,000 to $8,000 a year. I mean, usually the stipends would be sufficient enough to cover living expenses, food, rent, and things like that. And our students do pretty well in getting by with the stipends that they're offered. And of course, for PhD students, they are usually offered a bit more, and because they're expected to do more. Perhaps as a teaching assistant, for example, they usually would receive a bit more in the stipend, and in fact, most of the PhD students would get a full tuition waiver. So, for graduate students, and this varies from institution to institution as well, sometimes it's not always, the case where they're offered an assistantship with their admission. Some departments like to have the students come for a semester or even a full year before they're offered an assistantship opportunity. And that's just so the faculty can get to know the individual student, see where their strengths and weaknesses are, and where they would best place in terms of an assistantship opportunity. So I always encourage students, sometimes don't have high expectations with assistantships with admission, because for master's students in some fields they're few and far between.